Hello, my name is Ethan Condon. I'm taking a video game development course at Gull Lake High School, and today we're going to go over week 5. This is my previous backlog, um, where I, at that moment, just finished publishing Essentials and 2D Essentials, and I was going to go over to Junior Programming here. This is what this is, with the player control, basic gameplay, sound and effects, and gameplay mechanics, all that good stuff. This is my backlog now with player control finished, and I'm working on basic gameplay now. Um, we'll go over all this and once we get to the Unity programming part, but it's pretty simple stuff. I'm just about halfway done with this one. Next, I'm looking to go to sound and effects and just get through the rest of it. Alright, and this is my GitHub. Going to history here. Again, we're gonna go over this once I get into Unity, the programming, I guess, part of it. So you got the initial commit, git ignore. Let's put a date there for a couple little editing things. Uh, and then it should match up with everything I have in the sprint task list there. And then this is also for basic gameplay, the second one that I'm working on. You got the get ignore, you got the random date in there for updating things, and then adding the project, and then going through the four commits that I did, or the four, I guess. We'll say like 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. You'll see. All right, this is the play control start whatever thing. Just gonna skim over it quickly. Uh, so what we did was add a vehicle, gave it rigid body, and then did the same thing with an obstacle over choosing. I did cones because makes sense for a car. Um, Also I did rigid body, um, and little mesh collider here, just so when it hits it, it'll act as like how a car hitting a cone would, for the most part at least. It's not the best, but it gets the job done. Um, they also added code as player controller. Alright, we could double click this. Hold on. Head to scripts. Double click player controller. And got all this goofy looking stuff here. We start with private floats, so just defining what speed, turn speed, horizontal input, forward input, what all that means to a private float, so it'll only go into player controller. So then we know that horizontal input is equal to input get axis horizontal, which we can find in project settings, I'm pretty sure. Uh, Give me a second. Alright, here's the input manager. So you got horizontal, vertical, fire 142. This is all things that are pre-made, put in. So if you want to make a character move, you can set it to different things for inputs. So again, the input get axis horizontal. It'll find the axis of horizontal. It'll take it, it'll copy over to the code. Make it a little easier for you. And then you got this stuff. So transform dot translate vector 3 dot forward times time dot delta time times speed times forward input. It's a lot of stuff going on here. Speed, we already defined that as 23.0, and forward input is again the forward input. So input get axis, and I'm sure if we give it a second to load here, it might show us the pre-made. Yeah, it shows us the pre-made buttons for vertical and horizontal, so it's already pre-coded for us again. Um, and this transform dot rotate vector 3 dot up turn speed times horizontal input. At that point, it's just math. All right, and then we got the camera thing where it's supposed to follow the player. So it's a public class this time. No, that's sorry. It's a public game object player, and it's a private vector 3 offset. So it'll be following the vehicle, relative to the vehicle, it'll be following it at this. So x7, y2, z negative 8. You got void late update, and that's just so it kind of lags behind just the slightest bit, so it gets rid of a bit of that shakiness that it would without that. And then transform position equals player dot transform position plus offset, so basically finds the player position. Um, it adds the offset, which is this. So it'll find the zeros of the car. It'll find the offset, which should be a little bit back here. And from there, as long as the player moves, the camera will move with it. We'll see that in a second here. Alright, I don't know what's happening to the road here, but we're just going to ignore it for now. So with all that code, you get the rotation. I know it looks weird, but it's not perfect. Wasn't intended to be perfect. You can move forward and backward. And of course, you can fall off, fall off the map there. Let's see if it'll be quicker this time. Sweet. And then since these cones have a rigid body, as long as you run into them, the body of the car or the mesh of the pre-made mesh of the truck will affect what happens. So it's kind of like a slanted up shape. So it goes up. Kind of looks a little unrealistic, but you know. Alright, so that was it for this section. But then we went into the fun stuff, just with this goofy looking plane. So with this one, we had to figure out different coding issues with the plane by going over what we did before. So um, it's got this controller X script, whatever, and it was pre-made for us to figure out what the issues were. They put errors in it on purpose. In other words, um, just to make it that much crazier. So let's see if I can open this. Sweet. Okay. So again, you got the public float speed. I all fixed it, but I fixed it up. So you got the public float speed there. Um, Before there wasn't any of this part, I had to add that in. You got the vertical input, get axis vertical. Had to add I think time dot delta time here. So it's not just like heading from one point to another instantly, which is a big problem. It took me like 10 minutes to figure out that one. Um, and then this one was, I think, already pre-done. And then we also had to figure out this camera. Show me where that is. Again, you got the public game object and then the private vector offset. Uh, it had terrible offset. It was just kind of. And then I think this was. I might have had to add this in. I don't exactly remember. Because it's been a second. I did this at the start of the week. That's pretty much it. So this might take a second, but um. Oh shoot, sweet. You got to see how it works. Hate the camera angle, but you know, works pretty well. Wish that propeller spinned. Didn't manage to do that. Alright, this is the goofy part. This one ain't my favorite, I gotta be honest. But we started with this little player dude. Little redneck farmer right there. Um, we head into player controller here. It's kind of like the rest of it, but you know, it's a little bit more fancy. So obviously you got the public game objects and public floats and everything like that. And we start with the movement. So uh, got the if transform dot position dot x is less than x range. So basically, if it's less than the like negative of how wide the space you have in the camera is. It's kind of hard to explain. You'll see. Um, then transform dot position equals new vector 3x negative x range transform dot position dot y transform dot position dot z. Um, Honestly, have no idea what that does. But you kind of copy it down here, and pretty sure it just stops you from moving further. Uh, it should at least. Yeah, I think it stops you from moving further. Uh, I don't understand why. I'll probably have to look it up if I want to know, but that's as far as I get with that one. You got the horizontal input. Input get axis horizontal, so you know you can move them left and right. Um, Now you got the same thing that we had before on the other one. I'm pretty sure. And we'll get into this part in a second here. All right. Then you got these cows. Really goofy looking. I don't know why. Uh, but you got this move forward code where it's the public float speed equals 40.0f or it's 40.0f. This F stands for float, so it recognizes it as a float, not some sort of weird integer. Because you put a dot there and stuff like time dot delta time, and it kind of confuses the code a little bit. But transform dot translate vector 3 forward dot time dot delta time times speed. So it finds the speed, multiplies it by time dot delta time, which is just like the time it gives you. You could slow it down, you could speed it up. We're not gonna do that. But the vector 3 is the way it's moving, and you translate it forward times all that, and you get the movement of the cow, which is kind of fun. And they got the destroy out of bounds thing where we're gonna go over this projectile in a second here, but it works for the cows too. So the top bound is 30, so that's the top of the map from what the camera sees, and the lower bound is -10, which is the bottom of the map, which the camera sees. Couldn't tell you why it's not even. Just, trust me, I guess. Um, and they got the if transform position Z is more than top bound, then destroy game object. So if it's more than the up and down, whatever, um, from the map, because it's horizontal and you're looking at it from top down view. If it's more than the up down, the top or bottom, then no. If it's more than the top, then it'll destroy the game object, and if it's more than the bottom, it'll destroy the game object. So it'll just destroy the copies of the cow that you made, which we'll get into again in a second. All right, and then you got the spawn manager. So you find it's just the public game object. Don't know why that's there. Animal prefabs, which is a little prefab we made. Show you that in a second. And they got the floats, of course. So if input key code S is hit, um, then animal index equals random range 0, comma animal prefabs dot length. So it'll find random place that's within the length of the animal prefab and um, on the map, and it'll just spawn them there randomly, and they'll move forward. It's pretty easy stuff. They got vector 3 spawn position equals new vector 3 random range. This solidifies like the random thing. This is like extra stuff that we added in. There was different code there. Instantiate. I have no idea what that means. It's random code stuff that I don't know. You find the animal prefabs and the animal index, and spawn position animal prefabs. Whatever this is, I haven't figured it out because I have no idea what instantiate means. But you know. All right, then we got a cookie. It's a projectile. So it's the same. It's the same thing. I think it's like next out of it. It's the player controller. So if you press the space bar, it'll do the instantiate thing. Projectile prefab transform dot position. Basically, it'll launch out of the player, or it's supposed to. We're gonna change the code later because it's not exactly working right now. Couldn't tell you why, but I tried looking it up, didn't get much out of it. Alright, and then we gotta look at the little prefabs that we added. So you got the animal, cow, whatever, and the food cookie. So it steals from this to add copies onto the screen. once you press S or space to make the cows and or the cookie. Alright, and then we'll do a little quick demo. So you got the cows moving down, add in a bunch of cows. But once that game object, once one of the clone cows goes away, the game object is destroyed. So it's it can't be find it. They can't access it after that. So we're gonna have to change that later. But you can see the clones coming in for the cookie. You can't see the cookie yet. Don't know why. Alright, that pretty much sums up what I've done over the week. And again, I'm looking to finish basic gameplay and get through the rest of junior programming. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want. It's free.